Hi folks, I'm here at the Federal Reserve Bank to talk to you about money. Now a lot of people don't want to hear about money, they'd much rather talk about love. But money is important, especially in politics. And what this institution does more than any other is it steals money from the poor and the middle class and it gives it to the rich. And if one thing San Franciscans are against, it's stealing from the poor and giving to the rich. It's been doing this now for 113 years. And I stand against this institution along with the left wing of the Democratic Party. On this particular issue and many others, I am the most progressive candidate in this race. And I'd like you to look at some of the links on my site from other very progressive Democrats, including Marjorie Cantor, who's the most senior woman in the Democratic Party. She's been there longer than my opponent. And she said that the bankers who control this institution, the private bankers who control this institution, committed a financial coup d'etat 2 years ago when they threatened the Congress using financial terrorism for the Congress to allocate trillions of dollars to bailing out the private bankers. The first time the vote was held under that threat, the vote failed. And what happened just a couple days later was this institution then printed up $800 billion and handed it to the big banks in New York. So these banks, for 2 decades, have been freewheeling, lending out money willy-nilly, because they always, and collecting fees on whenever they lent out that money, knowing full well that if they screwed up, these guys got their backs. So like anybody else who knows that somebody big has got their backs, they're going to be careless. And they were careless with your money. And they wasted it on all kinds of bad things. And of course the worst is the money that they print up and they give to dictators. And they give to other governments that suppress their people. So I really urge you to listen some more about the history of this institution and look at some of the links from good, solid, progressive Democrats and even socialists. Bernie Sanders is the senator from Vermont, and he was promoting, along with a wonderful Democrat, Alan Grayson, a bill so that this institution could no longer operate in total secrecy. This institution operates in greater secrecy than the CIA. Nobody knows, and they refuse to tell who they give their money to. A concerted effort got them to tell who they gave their money to in the first bailout called TAR. And it turns out that they own all kinds of garbage. But largely their stuff goes unreported, and when the bankers wrote this law for themselves back in 1913, they wrote into secrecy. In the actual act, it says that they cannot be audited for any of their activities. Now, what kind of democracy is it when the institution the only institution that has the right to create money out of thin air, billions and billions and trillions of it, is by law completely exempt and secret, and the leadership of the opposition party made sure that Bernie Sanders and Grayson, Alan Grayson was the Democrat who also sponsored this bill over in the House, that the provision that these guys be audited in a real audit by the General Accounting Office of the Congress, that would not go forward. And they continued with their philosophy of financially blackmailing, terrorizing the political establishment by telling them if we're audited, the whole world financial system will go down the drain, and there'll be martial law in this country. So if you believe in giving in to the financial terrorism of the oligarchs, then don't worry about this institution. Go along your merry way and have a nice day. But if you really would like to know, keep on listening. Now, there's one thing I'm sure about this institution. Whether I get elected or whether another libertarian gets elected, or even whether my opponent gets elected, this place someday is not going to be the Federal Reserve Bank. This institution is absolutely doomed. And this is, in fact, the third Federal Reserve Bank in this country. There have already been two others, and twice the people have wised up after horrible depressions or bad inflations to understand that this institution is the instrument of the rich to steal from the poor. The first, Alexander Hamilton was the man who first established the first national bank, and he got George Washington to go along with it. Thomas Jefferson, who was a man who really loved the people and wanted power to the people, was one of his first acts as president, who was the second president of the United States, was to get rid of the first national bank. The next president who got rid of the second national bank, because these bankers keep coming back and they keep coming back because they love the monopoly status and the irresponsibility that this institution gives them, and the profits that it enables them to make by not really caring about the loans they do, and loaning billions to corrupt businesses and large corporations, and basically owning the country and the world. The bankers love it, so they keep coming back. Andrew Jackson was the first Democrat to ever get elected president, and Andrew Jackson campaigned on getting rid of the second bank of the United States, and he did. But it's like an octopus. It's like a hydra, a multi-headed snake. You just cut off the heads and they keep coming back. And this institution came back in 1913 and has been so successful in owning the country and acting on behalf of the owners of the country that it's only recently come into question. This is not just happening here. In Iceland, the Central Bank of Iceland ruined that country, and the people and the world bankers said to Iceland, "Well, we're going to rescue you, but your people have to pay us back." So the Federal Reserve printed up money to loan to Iceland to do that. Well, the president of Iceland was decent enough to put it to a vote to the people, so they had some direct democracy, thank God, and the people said, "No. We are not going to pay for the bankers' mistakes, and we're not going to pay back money from the Federal Reserve and from all the other central banks. We're not going to become slaves to the banks." So that's the people of Iceland. Now, if you think the people of Iceland are really radical, crazy Norwegians, okay, that's fine. But I think they really made a lot of sense.